I am very excited because I just got out of work and I am about to go on a coffee little revising date with my sister-in-law and my husband. For them, they're not revising, obviously. For them, it's master's homework. So in my opinion, I have the way more fun job tonight. But I'm really excited because for some reason, I think I was like distracted all last week in a good way with this other project that I've started drafting. Something within me has been rekindled for revising and friggin' trailblazing this project of House of Aptos. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to revise. I'm ready to annotate. I'm ready to go. So I'm going to take you guys along with me, of course. And will it be the exact same Starbucks that you've seen in the background of my last two videos? Yes, it will. No comments. Honestly, I would rather go anywhere local, but I get out of work at 4:30 and all the coffee shops in this area close at 5. And if you want to sit anywhere and be productive for more than 30 minutes, then you're going to have to go to Starbucks. So that's the story there. But afterwards, we're going to talk revision. We're going to talk my plan, where I'm at, what I've learned, what I'm struggling with, all of those details. And I'm excited to take a closer look at revision with you guys. Anyway, let's go get ready and revise. It's a beautiful day. It's 1,005 degrees out in Illinois, so hence the terribly ugly old ratty t-shirt. We do what we must to stay cool. Anyway, let's go pack my bag. Okay, so I started unboxing this before I recorded, but it's like just way too cute for me to not show you guys. I got sent a Plancer journal, which I'm so excited about. This box, first of all, adorable. Also, when I opened the package, I was sent these adorable little like crafting things. I'm obsessed with these, like little stickers and even tape to put in the book. And obviously there's no way that she would know this, but these are literally the vibe for the new book I started drafting, my contemporary romance. It's all these like little historical elements. This is all so fitting for exactly what I'm planning, the project I'm planning to use this journal for. I literally could not be more happy with this so far. It's so adorable and I'm obsessed. Too fun! That's sweet. It says, your writing content has been loved by us at Dahlia Paper Company. We wanted you to be one of the first to receive the Plancer journal. Thank you, Ellie. That is so kind. On it says Plancer journal across the bottom. Super cute. This feels so smooth. It's got a little band to put a pen in on the side. Okay, love defines a pantser and a plancer, or a pantser and a planner makes a plancer on the inside. This is amazing because I love handwriting things out. I think it's just more artistic and I think I feel more like put together when I do it that way. My notes app is so scattered and messed up and unorganized, but run to get yourself a Plancer journal, especially if you are like me and you're a bit of a pantser, but you'd like to be a little more organized. This is like the perfect marriage between those two things. And her packaging is adorable. You get all these cute things when you get one of these. So anyway, she's incredible. Go check out Ellie and the Dahlia Paper Company and get yourself a Plancer journal for your next project. Whatever your current whip is, it needs this. Could I get an iced brown sugar oat milk shake and espresso with like half sweetener, what you normally do? No, that'll be it. Thank you. We got the goods. Needed a little pick-me-up this afternoon. I also need to get gas. I'm on 10 miles until empty, which all the girlies out there relate. Running the gas tank to empty. That's fine. So I'm gonna get gas and then we go home and then I'm gonna finish up this video and then I have to go to the gym and run 6 miles, which I would do outside, but it's 86 degrees and also supposed to rain. So that's not gonna work. But the gym has AC and perfectly good functioning treadmills. So that's the plan. I'll see you guys at home. Welcome. Welcome back. Let's get started on some questions. I asked what questions you guys might have about writing in general or specifically revision, and I got some good questions and I'm excited to answer them for you guys. We've got our coffee. Grab a fun drink. This will be more of a chatty portion of the video, so grab something fun and let's get started. Okay, the first question is, what point of view do you prefer writing from? Okay, this is something that has actually shifted as I've gotten more habitual about writing in the last year. I think prior to this past year of like committing to House of Aphedos and starting that project and like going for it, I wrote very casually, just sparsely throughout my life, always writing, but like not frequently enough to really know these kinds of answers. Given that, my natural perspective that I always was inclined to write in was first person. I looked back when I started House of Aphedos at some of the other projects I left unfinished in my Google Docs graveyard, and literally all of them are first person. I'm not sure I ever wrote anything in the third person narrative, so that was kind of fun to look back at and realize, especially because with House of Aphedos I do dabble with both first and third person. So everything that's told through Emery's point of view, which if you're wondering who Emery is, you can check out my Meet My Characters video, but everything that's told through Emery's point of view, who's our main protagonist, is in first person. So it's live with the reader. You're getting that full experience of reading it with her and experiencing everything through her eyes. Everything that is through Aiden's point of view, because my book is dual POV, is actually through third. So it's not really his POV, but it is. It's like that omniscient narrator there. So that was really fun, and I actually have learned a lot about myself through dabbling with third person. I've never done that before. Dabbling? How about we say experimenting with third person. So I realized that I kind of like my voice as a writer better in third person. I think I write stronger prose that way, which was kind of a tough realization when I've done literally everything else my whole life in first person. So my new contemporary romance that I started drafting actually is entirely in third person. So we'll see if I stick with that and how it feels. But the one thing I've noticed that I'm actually stronger with in first person is being less flowery and less like descriptive and overly that way. I think in third person, I tend to feel very like it's meaningful and life purpose type of, I don't know why that just tends to come out of me when I write in that version. So anyway, it depends. I think I prefer first person. That's probably my most like natural inclination, but I'm exploring third. I'm starting to really like it. I think it is a more mature voice comes out of me in third person. So we'll see if that becomes the favorite. I'm interested in what my answer will be to this question when I get maybe like 6 months down the road from now, or even a year, where I'll be. The second question is, what keeps you motivated to keep writing and editing? This is a tough one because I think everyone who has ever tried to tackle writing a book understands the kind of pain that comes with the ebbing and flowing of motivation and inspiration, particularly inspiration. I think if you have the end goal of writing a book, you can kind of summon that motivation, and when you don't have the motivation, you can summon the discipline, because even if you're not motivated to write on that one day, you're probably still motivated to achieve the end goal somehow. And so for me, on days when I don't really feel naturally inspired to write or to revise, that doesn't mean I don't feel motivated. So for me, those kind of feel like two different things. On the days when I feel inspired, those tend to be days when drafting is more natural and I can actually go in and create and write new words and new content. And on days when I feel motivated and inspired, that's days like the very first the very first vlog I have on this channel was a day when I wrote 6,000 words. So my brain was absolutely dead by the end of that day. You can check that out, by the way, if you want to reference that video. It's kind of funny to see in just the short time I've had this channel how far it's come. Motivation and inspiration feel like two separate things for me. I think motivation is something I can easily summon through discipline, and inspiration is something that ebbs and flows but can sometimes be manufactured through discipline and motivation. Did any of that make sense? Right now, what's motivated me to continue editing, like yesterday, I got super motivated and ready to just keep freaking tearing apart my first draft and annotating it and picking it apart. And I think that's because I am getting so excited for like phase 2 of revision, when I get to actually like start reworking the actual draft. And right now, the idea of being able to actually dive into typing and editing and seeing my beloved draft on my computer and working with her again, that right now is like the motivating factor for me that keeps me moving and keeps me going. And I also have so many people in my life who have encouraged me and asked questions about how this is going and are excited to get this in their hands, which obviously means the world to me. So that is also very motivating, is that I don't feel like I'm going through this alone. There's people here on YouTube that I've also started to connect with that I feel motivated to just continue to be able to relate to them by working on this. But I'm also motivated by friends and family who love and support me and care about what I'm doing and want to see the end product and be able to hold the end product in their hands and read it. So for me, that's very motivating, and it also just makes me feel inspired and like I am moving towards the right goal in life. That's a long drawn out answer to what keeps me inspired and what keeps me motivated. Okay, so this question came from Brielle about wanting to hear more about balancing the 2 projects now that I announced in my last video that I've started drafting Project T, and she wanted to know about how I'm balancing those 2 things and how do I choose when to revise and when to draft, and if there's any challenges in switching between the 2 projects. Great question. I am still navigating those waters. I think I'm in a very early part of it where right now it almost feels easy because, going back to what I was just talking about, the inspiration is really high for that new project. I almost wonder if it's because it's in third person and not first. It feels like a completely different beast. It pulls on different parts of my ability as a writer to use a different voice and to feel. It also doesn't require any world building of me because it's contemporary, so I think that part of it makes it feel imaginative in a new way that's almost more refreshing for me. And so with that, I don't struggle switching between because they're so compartmentalized for me, of one being here in this world and another being in a whole world that I've created. So I don't struggle too much with the switching, but I did kind of create a rule or a boundary with myself in terms of time of day. So if it's anytime morning, afternoon, I am allowed to draft. If I have ideas, I can work on those. But if it's anytime after like 5, then I am now required to revise. I don't know why that's the way I split it up. It's probably because I tend to have the most like high quality imaginative thinking and creative thought process in the first half of the day. By the end of the day, I think I run a little bit dry and feel a little more tired, and that's probably normal for most people. So I feel like I can do analyzing and I can do the editorial work a little bit easier in the evenings because I'm not so tired that I'm unable to catch mistakes or think about like big plot ideas, but I am a little more tired to the point where coming up with new content feels draining. So that's been a good split for me so far. Now I will say, I think once I get to the point of working through draft 2 in terms of like typing and reworking, I do think I'm gonna probably have to hit pause on drafting Project T, just because at that point there will be new words that need to be generated into the second draft of House of Aphtose. That whole side of things, I don't know. I'm a little scared for what that might look like, but that's okay. I think right now my main thought process behind starting Project T now is that I didn't want to lose any creative motivation I had behind it and then have what could have been a really good project fall through the cracks of trying to hold so tightly onto revision being my plan that I hold myself back from other things that could be great down the line. So I don't know if I'll end up drafting the rest of that project during NaNoWriMo or if that will be drafting Project 2 for House of Aphtose. We'll see what happens there. But right now, that's kind of how the balance has been. I don't know why the division of morning and afternoon versus nighttime has worked for me so far, but so far it has. But we'll have to check back in on that when I get to revising draft 2 and working towards kind of spending more time in the word count of House of Aphtose. I would imagine that at that point, that will take a lot of my creative energy. So we'll see what happens there, but that's a good question. Thanks for asking. Another question I got was, when do you hope to have your work and project done and ready to be out in the world? Amina sent this one in. Hello, Amina. This is a great question. I would love to have this book published and out into the world at some point in 2025. I made a goal back in 2023 that I would have a book written by 2025. At that point, House of Aptos was not even a thought yet, so I don't know. It's kind of a miracle that House of Aptos came to me in the early parts of 2024, and I was able to get a whole first draft written within 5.5 months. I don't know how that happened or where it came from, but I'm really grateful that it did, because that goal that I happened to make 2 years ago of hoping to have a book completed by 2025 is tangible at this point, I think. I referenced in my last video that I'm feeling more confident about draft 1 than I anticipated feeling. And so I'm really hoping, and again, I'm a first-time revising author, so there's probably people out there who have written, revised, and published books of their own and are thinking, girl, you got no idea what's coming. And you're probably right. So if I eat my words, just have grace for me, because I'm an ambitious person. I tend to set goals and then strive to achieve them and sometimes fail, and that's okay. So anyway, I got off track. The point is, I'm really hoping that working through draft 2 of like fixing plot issues and, you know, building my world a little more fine-tuned and all those good things won't be more than like a 2-month process. I think it would be incredible if I could have House of Aptos done being annotated by the end of August at the latest. I'm really hoping before August, but by the end of August, that would be outstanding. And then to be able to spend September and October giving it to beta readers. And if I could have beta readers getting it in September and then beta readers giving me feedback by October, so that way by October and November, I can be going through draft 3 of like line level edits and fixing any major plot issues that they give me. Then in December, I could work through any final fine tuning of those things to then hopefully in 2025 be able to have a publication date that's late spring, early summer. I don't know. That would mean that I wrote, revised, and published this book in a year. Is that crazy? Part of me is like, is it possible to put out your best quality of work within that time frame? The true answer is I don't know. So we'll see. I think the beta reader part of revising is going to be so crucial for me. It's hard when you are doing this all independently and you don't have an editor, and you don't have an agent, and you don't even have friends that do this kind of writing outside of YouTube to know if your work is high enough quality to get to publication point. I started drafting this book in January of 2024, and to be able to publish this by March or April of 2025 would be outstandingly on track for what I would like to see done. And I'm hoping to draft the second book of this series in NaNoWriMo, or at least start it at that point. And that would set me to hopefully have the second book to this series out no later than January of 2026, if I gave myself a year and a few months again to get that project wrapped up, revised, and published. So we'll see. That is such a rough estimate. So don't hold me to it. I mean, hold me to it, but also don't. All right, the 5th question I got is, what is your process for creating a cohesive storyline? This is a great question. I actually did a whole video on my writing process as a plantser. I am not necessarily a pantser entirely. I do a little bit of fair outlining in the beginning of each book, but at the same time, I am a pantser. I don't plot in a way where I sit down and create everything from point A to point Z in the book. And I certainly don't always write that out. Like for instance, with Project T, I have an outline. It just lives here, which means I'm constantly changing it, but that's almost better. anything that comes up that's like absolutely fundamental for me to keep with the story, I will write in a notes app, or then now that I have the Planter journal, I will be using that. But that's typically what I do if I have anything that's like a super formal outline that I need to remember. But I think that this is not a process that works for everybody. I think people tend to be naturally inclined towards story structure, and other people, research is your best friend for that. I'm not saying that I don't do research or that I just naturally get story structure. I have done a lot with Save the Cat and a lot of resources on YouTube, following authors who are far more advanced than me and really listening to their advice and their artistic process through all of this. So for me, those have been big educational tools to help me learn about this craft and how to better utilize what I might naturally have an inclination for. So that's kind of what I've done to prepare myself to be able to be successful as a planter. That being said, we've already talked about in my writing process video how I do not do well when I put myself in a box of a strict outline. So for me, I tend to be inspired by endings more than beginnings. If I can imagine the end of my book, then I can get there. So that's kind of this Project T. I was able to really visualize a starting scene, which is the scene that I talked about when I was laying in bed one night. I just like had this image, and that's what inspired me to start writing the next day. But I had that starting scene, and as I was writing, the title actually inspired the ending of the book. And the ending of the book also kind of inspired the title. There's like a, round robin situation. So for me, I think endings tend to help me create cohesive storylines, because if I have a beginning idea and I have an end point, then as long as I know the end destination of the book, I think I love letting the characters tell me how to get there. The sixth question I got was, do you ever spend a ton of time on a scene just to delete it later because you didn't end up liking it? Yes, I think we all can relate to this as authors and writers. One thing that actually Brielle mentioned in one of her videos one time was that she sometimes writes a scene just to see if it would be a good fit for the book. And you don't have to use the scenes that you write. And I thought that was great advice, because sometimes you have to, it's like trying on a pair of shoes or an outfit that you thought, okay, wait, an outfit, that's a perfect metaphor. When you lay in bed and you visualize what you're gonna wear the next day, but then the next morning you put it on and you're like, I look like a sack of potatoes. That's kind of what like writing a scene is like sometimes, where you imagine a scene fitting into your book and your narrative so well. And then when you actually write it, you realize that it's not the right shape, or it doesn't carry the right voice or tone. It doesn't display your character development the way that you want. Whatever the missing piece of it is, you realize it's not the right fit for the story, which is fine, because you can remove it and you can change and move forward. But sometimes you literally, just like trying on that outfit that's in your head, you have to write it out to know if it's the right or the wrong fit. So for me, that is certainly true. I think the biggest thing that gets shifted a lot in my work is dialogue. I don't tend to change overall scene structure drastically. There's not been a ton of times where I've drafted literally a start to end, like they're in this one location, the goal of this scene is this, and the dialogue circles around this, and then scrapped all three. Typically, I find something within those three that I can keep, whether it's the location or the main goal that the scene is trying to accomplish in the overall chapter or part of the book or whatever, and then the goal of the dialogue within character development and all those good things. I think I typically will keep at least one of those things, and then I can scrap whatever else does not fit. So yes and no, if that makes sense. I think typically my creative process is able to pinpoint one thing that is maybe right, and then the other pieces I just have to rework. It's like when you want to wear a certain pair of pants, but then you have to find the right shoes and the right shirt and all that good stuff. Sometimes you get the shoes and the shirt wrong, but the pants are right. Other times I thought the pants would be perfect. Turns out the shirt was the right thing and the shoes and the pants needed to change. So it all can switch around. But yes, I think it's very normal to spend a lot of time on something and have this expectation that it's going to be the right thing. I think the important thing is the willingness to admit that it's not, and know that you now have those words under your belt as experience. The biggest thing I have learned from drafting this first project and this first version of House of Aphtos is that word count will make you better. And so no word written is a word wasted. You can spend hours drafting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 words, and if by the end of it only 1,500 of those are useful, that's fine, because the other ones that you wrote are still making you a better writer, and they're developing your craft and your skill. So that's just a little like wisdom piece from Andy. Don't ever feel discouraged if you spend a lot of time on something and then end up trashing it, because it is not trash in the end. It in the end makes you better and will make the words that you do end up keeping so much better than if you would have let yourself stick with the lesser version of what you're capable of achieving. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That is it for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed hearing a little bit about my drafting process, how it's going, but also about my writing process, and just it was fun getting to answer some of the questions you guys have. So I'd love to do this again. If there's anything else that you guys are curious about or that comes up, feel free to just drop them in the comments at any time, and I will always be checking those out to answer and check in with you guys. So as always, I'll see you next week for another video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. See ya.